Hare Krishna, somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
Prabhu, may I start with this?
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Om Manjana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthavidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Ham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vishnamscha Sri Rupam Sagaradam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tamsa Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So today we will cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, verses 43 to 48, and then we will cover some portion of Chapter 32. But before that, you all please explain one or more points and ask one or more questions. Everybody should take turns. We have few devotees present. Many of the devotees are traveling, therefore they are not going to attend virtually, but they'll be listening to recording. So those of you are present, please explain one or more points and ask one or more questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. May I start with the first question, condition of the child in the womb?
Yeah.
The condition of the child in the womb, it accepts the assimilated foodstuff of mother. Bitten by hungry worms, child suffers agony due to miserable condition of material existence is felt. Due to mothers eating pungent stuff, salt and sauce, child suffers pains. Child remains like the bird in a cage, without freedom of movement, grieves wretchedly. And this is what only the fortunate child remembers the past and grieves for it. This is what the condition of the child in the womb.
Okay, very good. What else? Go ahead.
Prabhuji, if nobody is there, then I don't mind. I can continue the rest of the also.
Preeti, we cannot hear you. We'll get Preeti, I think, wants to speak. Preeti, you can unmute again, or disconnect and connect again. Preeti, we cannot hear you. Somebody else has anything to ask or say?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So about the analogy about the hunter, how the deer, the sweet singing of the hunter is an entrapment to the deer. So similarly, the family, so the attachment is That is how it is going to be, we're going to be entangled. So that is the analogy that was given, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good remembrance of the analogy. Okay, what else? Chandran Prabhu can go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I would continue the second question about living entity not wish to depart from mother of the womb. By the influence of Maya, the external energy, one forgets everything just after the birth. Therefore, the child prefers to remain within the womb rather than come out, instead of getting into the miserable life of the materialistic life. This is what the second question's my understanding.
Okay, yeah, very good, correct understanding. Okay.
And the third question is about the principles, the child Krishna consciousness within the womb of mother. It is not to fall again victim of Maya, again by going outside. Child prefers to be in the womb. One does not need any material arrangement to cultivate Krishna consciousness. There was a question how the child can meditate this thing. It is said that anybody can meditate in any way. Hare Krishna Mahamantra can be chanted even within the abdomen of the mother to be free from clutches of Maya. This is what my understanding for the third question, Prabhuji.
Okay, very good. Shivangi. Your voice is very soft. Speak up, Shivangi.
Hello, is it better now?
Yeah.
There was an analogy about a man falling into a rejected well that's covered by grass because he does not know that it's there. The analogy is about talking about a Maya who comes in the form of a woman for a man because he accepts her services and he doesn't know it, but he's slowly progressing towards his death.
Okay, very good analogy. Preeti, now you are able to unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhu. So, should I go with the second question?
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Okay, Prabhu. So it says that why the living entity does the living entity not wish to depart from the mother's abdomen? So it is the living entity has been suffering so much of agony in the womb of mother and realizes the trouble that he will have to face again once he comes out in the material world. He knows Maya will capture him and put him in illusion. He then starts identifying himself falsely and keeps continuing in the birth and death cycle. By the spell of Maya, he won't be able to understand his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord and will fall victim of Maya. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good. Any questions before we continue?
Prabhuji, one which really confuses me. The fourth analogy, it says, she blocks the path of spiritual realization. This is what I feel. I cannot accept it. Maybe that way wrong. So
why woman blocks the path of self-realization? So understand, it's not just talking about woman. So woman is Maya for men and men is Maya for woman. The point being made is that if you are attached to the opposite sex, then you are at bodily concept of life. That blocks your spiritual advancement. That's the point being made. It's not about talking just about woman. If man is attached to woman and woman is attached to men, well, for both of them, either one is going to block spiritual advancement because you'll be attached at the bodily level and not at the soul level. Because it goes on to describe that if your relationship is at the soul level, like there was one verse about relationship in Krishna Loka. So while you are in the material world, if your relationship is based at the level of soul, then the attachment is not there to the body. Then you are okay. Chandran Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. No, what I thought it is only meant for the women. This book, it is meant for both of.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's meant for both. We read that, I think it was 3.31.41 verse plus minus 1 verse.
40, this and 40.
Yeah.
31 or 40.
Yeah, that just as a woman serves and the man is attached by the service, and similarly, verse number 42 describes that a woman should therefore consider her husband, her house, children as the arrangement of Maya, just as the sweet singing of hunter is death for the deer. So it's both ways. It's not just for women.
Yes, Prabhuji, I understood. Thank you.
All right. Any last questions? Okay. So we'll continue from Canto 3, Chapter 31, verse 43 to 48 onwards. Pretty straightforward verses. So the context is that Devahuti's question number 7 from Canto 3, Chapter 29, verse number 3 is being discussed. The question is, describe about the continual process of birth and death of the jivas, hearing which one should become detached. And this is answered here in Canto 3, chapters 30, 31, and 32. In previous chapter 30, the post-death miseries and the miseries while at the planet of Yamraj were described for the jiva. And in chapter 31, the miseries of the jiva in mother's womb are described, as well as the suffering of jiva after he comes out of the womb are described. And Lord Kapila also describes the prayers of the jiva while in the womb, which is a fortunate jiva who is able to pray. Part 5 of chapter 31 is verses 43 to 48. Understanding birth and death. So in these verses, what is birth and death is described. They are pretty straightforward verses. Is our dear Aditi able to read verse 43 translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. She is in Prabhu. I will 43. I will read it, Prabhu.
All right.
(43) Due to his particular type of body, the materialistic living entity wanders from one planet to another, following fruitive activities. In this way, he involves himself in fruitive activities and enjoys the result incessantly. Hare Krishna.
So jiva's transmigration between various planets, like being on a merry-go-round, is due to fruitive activities. The next few verses describes birth and death. Shivangi, 44 to 46 translations.
Text 44. In this way, the living entity gets a suitable body with the material mind and senses according to his fruitive activities. When the reaction of his particular activity comes to an end, that end is called death, and when a particular type of reaction begins, that beginning is called birth. Text 45 to 46. When the eyes lose their power to see or color or form due to morbid affliction of the optic nerve, the sense of sight becomes deadened. The living entity who is the seer of both the eyes and the sight loses his power of vision. In the same way, when the physical body, the place for perception of objects occurs, is rendered incapable of perceiving, that is known as death. When one begins to view the physical body as one's very self, that is called birth.
So pretty straightforward definitions of birth and death are given, that when something new starts, or when you are able to use your physical body, that is birth. And when you stop, perception of the various senses and objects, that is death. So it's the body that dies. The soul does not die. Chandran Prabhu, 47.
Hare Krishna. Text 47. Therefore, one should not view death with horror, nor have recourse to defining the body as soul, nor give way to exaggeration in enjoying the bodily necessities of life. Realizing the true nature of the living entity, one should move about in the world free from attachment and steadfast in purpose. Hare Krishna.
They're saying
Text 40.
that that it's the body is dying, the soul does not die. So why worry? And we should move in the world with detached way of life. And verse number 48 describes how to live in this world. Chandran Prabhu can go at 48.
Text 48. Endowed with right vision and strengthened by devotional service and a pessimistic attitude towards material identity, one should relegate his body to this illusory world through his reasons. Thus, one can be unconcerned with this material world. Hare Krishna.
So when you are endowed with this vision that the body is temporary, soul is eternal, soul does not die, that material world is a place of misery, then you do devotional service and you are detached. This is the way to live in this world. Then Maya will not touch you. Questions, comments, realizations for chapter 31 or anything else? Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of third canto, 31st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Kapila's instructions on the movements of living entities. And now we'll start chapter 32. So in this canto 3, chapter 32, we'll study the lifestyle of two kinds of people, Grhamedhi and Grhastha. Or you can say that we will study those who follow the Karma Kanda path, and the lifestyle of Grhastha, who follow the transcendental path of Krishna consciousness. So Grhastha and Grhmedhi are both householders. Grhmedhi are those who live in family only for dharma, artha, kama, meaning the first three principles of Vedic system, for the purpose of elevation to heaven. And this chapter also describes Grhastha life, who are living a transcendental life, that they perform activities in the material world only for purification. Grhastha are obviously higher than Grhmedhi. Grhmedhi are lower because of their desire for sense gratification. They want to enjoy the same sense gratification as in the lifestyle of animals or in whatever previous life they have lived. And Prahlad Maharaj calls this as chewing the tube. In this chapter 32, Lord Kapila describes that those who follow Sakam Karma path, they will have to return to material world. And those who follow the Nishkam Karma path, they do not return to material world. And Lord Kapila goes on to criticize those who live the Sakam Karmi way of life. Chapter 32 is titled Entanglement in Fruitive Activities and is divided into 8 parts. There's small topics. Part 1 is verses 1 to 4. Attached workers. Part 2 is verses 5 to 7. Detached workers. Part 3 verses 8 to 15. Hiranyagarbha worshippers. Part 4 verses 16 to 21. Lord Kapila criticizes Sakam Karma. Part 5 verses 22 to 26. By bhakti, goals of other paths are also achieved. Part 6 verses 27 to 31. Lord Kapila speaks on jnana. Part 7 verses 32 to 36. Various paths ultimately to realize Bhagwan. Part 8 verses 37, 43. Qualification to receive this knowledge. Everybody got the parts?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so part 1 is verses 1 to 4. It's attached workers. So grhmedhi lifestyle is described in these verses, which is also known as pravati marg. Preeti, verses 1 and 2, translations and purports.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji. Entanglement in the fruitive activity. Text 1, translation. The personality of Godhead said, the person who lives in the center of the household life derives material benefits by performing religious rituals, and thereby he fulfills his desire for the economic development and sense gratification. Again and again he acts the same way. Purport. There are two kinds of householders. One is called the grhmedhi and the other is called the grhastha. The objective of the grhmedhi is sense gratification, and the objective of the grhastha is self-realization. Here the Lord is speaking about the grhmedhi, or the person who wants to live in this material world. His activity is to enjoy material benefits by performing religious rituals for the economic development and thereby ultimately satisfy the senses. He does not want anything more. Such a person works very hard throughout his life to become very rich and eat very nicely and drink. By giving some charity for pious activity, he can go to the higher planetary atmosphere in the heavenly planets in his next life, but he does not want to stop the repetition of birth and death and finish with the concomitant miserable factors of material existence. Such a person is called the grhmedhi. A grahas is a person who lives with family, wife, children, and relatives, but has no attachment for them. He prefers to live in a family life rather than a mendicant or a sannyasi. But his chief aim is to achieve self-realization or to come to the standard of Krishna consciousness. Here, however, Lord Kapildev is speaking about the grhmedhis who have made their aim the materialistically prosperous life which they achieve by sacrificial ceremonies, by charities, and by good work. They are posted in good positions, and since they know that they are using up the assets of pious activities, they again and again perform activities of sense gratification. It is said by Prahlad Maharaj, Puna punas charvit charvananam, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30. They prefer to chew the already chewed. Again and again they experience the material pangs, even if they are rich and prosperous, but they do not want to give up this kind of life. Text 2. Translation. Such persons are ever bereft of devotional service due to being too attached to sense gratification. And therefore, although they perform various kind of sacrifices and take great vows to satisfy the demigods and the forefathers, they are not interested in Krishna consciousness, devotional service. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7.20, it is stated that the persons who worship demigods have lost their intelligence. Kames testir rit jnana. They are much attached to sense gratification and therefore they worship the demigods. It is of course recommended in the Vedic scriptures that if one wants wealth, health, or education, when he should worship the various demigods. A materialistic person has manifold demands, and thus there are manifold demigods to satisfy his senses. The grhmedhis who want to continue a prosperous materialistic way of life generally worship the demigods or the forefathers by offering pind or respectful oblations. Such persons are bereft of the Krishna consciousness and are not interested in devotional service to the Lord. This kind of the so-called pious and the religious man is the result of impersonalism. The impersonalists maintain the supreme absolute truth has no form and that one can imagine any form he lives for his benefit and worship in that way. Therefore, the grhmedhi or the materialistic men say that they can worship any form of the demigod as the worship of the Supreme Lord. Especially among the Hindus, those who are meat eaters prefer to worship goddess Kali because it is prescribed that one can sacrifice a goat before that goddess. They maintain that whether one worships the goddess Kali or the supreme personality of Godhead Vishnu or any other demigod, the destination is the same. This is the first class rascaldom, and such people are misled. But they prefer this philosophy, Bhagavad Gita. They prefer this philosophy. Bhagavad Gita does not accept such rascaldom, and it is clearly stated that such methods are meant for persons who have lost their intelligence. The same judgment is confirmed here, and the word kama mood means one who has lost his sense or is infatuated by the lust of attraction for sense gratification and is used. Kama mudas are bereft of Krishna consciousness and devotional service and are infatuated by a strong desire for the sense gratification. The worshippers of the demigods are condemned both in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Pretty straightforward points. We have discussed this many times. What's the word for demigod worshippers? Anybody can describe in one word?
Prabhuji, they are called mood. Kama muda.
Yeah, very good. Their mood are less intelligent. Krishna has said this in chapter 7, that this is the lifestyle of a grhmedhi. They are demigod worshippers, karma kandya. All right. Mother Jija, verse 3 and 4 translation.
Text 3 translation. Such materialistic persons attracted by sense gratification and devoted to the forefathers and demigods can be elevated to the moon where they drink and of some swamp plant. They again return to this planet. Text 4. All
Mother Jija, I know you were talking, but your voice also didn't come through. Shivangi wants to read verse 4 translation.
Hare Krishna, all the planets of the materialistic persons, including all the heavenly planets such as the moon, are vanquished when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, goes to his bed of serpents, which is known as Anantashesha.
All right. So, what's the difference of enjoying here on earth versus in heaven? The difference is that the standard of sense gratification in heaven is higher than what we have here on earth. So some may argue that, okay, we get promoted to heaven, we enjoy sense gratification at higher level. So what if we live permanently in heaven? Well, first of all, after exhaustion of your punya, meaning pious activities, one has to come down to earthly planet. One has to leave heaven. You cannot live there forever. And even if, say, you have so much pious credit that you are able to live in heaven for a long time, still, it will not bring permanent happiness because higher planets are also temporary. Higher planets are also destroyed at the end of Brahmaji's life. So all these verses were for attached workers. Now part 2 is verses 5 to 7 is detached workers, means Grhastha life is described, which is Nivritti Marg. So Grhastha are also family men. They do Varnashram duties properly, but they do not want to enjoy the results of Varnashram. Rather, they do the duties for the happiness of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And side by side, they also practice bhakti practices of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam program. The result is that such grhasthas get purified and they develop Krishna consciousness. Kalyani, able to read verse 5 and 6 translations in purport? Or Shikapa?
Hare Krishna. Those who are intelligent and of pure, purified consciousness are completely satisfied in Krishna consciousness. Freed from the modes of material nature, they do not act for sense gratification. Rather, since they are situated in their own occupational duties, they act as one is expected to act. Purport. The first class example of this type of man is Arjuna. Arjuna was a Kshatriya and his occupational duty was to fight. Generally, kings fight to extend their kingdoms, which they rule for sense gratification. But as far as Arjuna is concerned, he is declined to fight for his own sense gratification. He said that although he could get a kingdom by fighting with his relatives, he did not want to fight with them. But when he was ordered by Krishna and convinced by the teachings of Bhagavad Gita that his duty was to satisfy Krishna, then he fought. Thus, he fought not for his sense gratification, but for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who work at their prescribed duties not for sense gratification but for gratification of the Supreme Lord are called Nisanga, freed from the influence of the modes of material nature. Nyasta Karmana indicates that the results of their activities are given to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such persons appear to be acting on the platform of their respective duties, but such activities are not performed for personal sense gratification. Rather, they are performed for the Supreme Person. Such devotees are called Prashanta, which means completely satisfied. Suddha Chetasaha means Krishna consciousness. Their consciousness has become purified. In unpurified consciousness, one thinks of himself as the Lord of the universe, but in purified consciousness, one thinks himself the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Putting oneself in that position of eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord and working for Him perpetually, one actually becomes completely satisfied. As long as one works for his personal sense gratification, he will always be full of anxiety. That is the difference between ordinary consciousness and Krishna consciousness. Text 6. Translation. By executing one's occupational duties, acting with detachment and without a sense of proprietorship or false egoism, one is posted in one's constitutional position by dint of complete purification of consciousness. And by thus executing so called material duties, he can easily enter into the kingdom of God. Purport. Here, the word nivritti dharma nirathaha means constantly engaging in executing religious activities for detachment. There are two kinds of religious performances. One is called pravritti dharma, which means the religious activities performed by the grhmedhas for elevation to higher planets or for economic prosperity. The final aim of which is sense gratification. Every one of us who has come to this material world has a sense of overlordship. This is called pravritti. But the opposite type of religious performance, which is called nivritti, is to act for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Engaged in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, one has no proprietorship claim, nor is one situated in the false egoism of thinking that he is God or the master. He always thinks himself as the servant. That is the process of purifying consciousness. With pure consciousness only can one enter into the kingdom of God. Materialistic persons, in their elevated conditions, can enter any one of the planets within this material world, but all are subjected to dissolution over and over again. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good comparison is done. How in the first 4 verses the grhmedhi lifestyle is described, that they are attached. Their purpose is sense gratification and higher planets, while verses 5 to 7 describe the grhastha detached workers, that they are working in the material. The verse says so-called material duties, because they are not attached to anything. They're just doing it for purification. And verse number 7 is pretty straightforward, describes the result. Mother Jija, you want to read now to test if you're able to read?
Text 6.
7.
Translation.
Text 7.
Text 7. Translation. Through the path of illumination, such liberated persons approach the complete personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of the material and spiritual worlds and is the supreme cause of their manifestation and
All right, pretty straightforward verse. Questions, comments, realizations? So in verse number 6, we read about the words pravritti marg and nivritti marg. So what's the difference between pravritti and nivritti marg? So pravritti dharma means the religious activities performed by grhmedhi for elevation to higher planets or for economic prosperity, the final aim of which is sense gratification. Means the sense of overlordship is called pravritti marg. Nivritti marg, on the other hand, is to act for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are detached. They are engaged in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, and they don't have proprietorship claim, nor they have false egoism of thinking that he is God. Rather, he always thinks himself to be a servant. And such nivritti marg is the process of purifying consciousness. Now, part 3 is verses 8 to 15. Hiranyagarbha worshippers. So Hiranyagarbha is another name for Brahmaji. So I will describe what is discussed in these 8 to 15 verses. I will first describe, and then reading the verses will become easier. In these verses, it describes that those who worship Hiranyagarbha or those who worship Brahmaji, what happens to them? So the worshippers of Hiranyagarbha remain within the material world until the end of 2 paradhas. So we have discussed this paradha earlier, that one paradha is 50 years, not 51, 50 years of Brahmaji, and the second there's another 50 years. Therefore, 2 paradhas make 100-year life of Brahmaji. After which, after the end of 100 years, Brahmaji also dies. So the worshippers of Hiranyagarbha, they do not directly approach the Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha. Means such people are worshipping Brahmaji without bhakti to Lord Vishnu. The result is they remain within the universe on Satyaloka or other higher planets until the end of life of Brahmaji. At the time of full annihilation, Brahmaji will go to the spiritual world. He is a pure devotee. But the worshippers of Brahmaji will not reach the spiritual abode because they worship Brahmaji as independent of the Lord. Upon full annihilation, Brahmaji becomes liberated. But such people who worship Brahmaji as independent of the Lord, Vishnu, they go to Mahavishnu's womb, and when material universes are created again, they again take birth in material universes. And some of these worshippers of Brahmaji, if they worship Brahmaji as a devotee of the Lord, then such jiva can also achieve spiritual world just as Brahmaji does. Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations on this topic before we read the verses? Sridhar Prabhu, 8 to 11 translations.
Hare Krishna. Text 8. Worshippers of the Hiranyagarbha expansion of the personality of Godhead remain within this material world until the end of two pararthas, when Lord Brahma also dies. Text 9. After experiencing the inhabitable time of the three modes of material nature, known as two pararthas, Lord Brahma closes the material universe, which is covered by layers of earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, ego, etc., and goes back to Godhead. Text 10. The yogis who become attached from the material world by practice of breathing exercises and control of the mind reach the planet of Brahma, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma. And therefore, when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter into the kingdom of God. Text 11. Therefore, my dear mother, by devotional service, take direct shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart. Hare Krishna.
So Lord Kapila gives the conclusion in verse number 11 that without bhakti, no one can become liberated. Therefore, perform bhakti. Chandran Prabhu, 12 to 15 translations.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
I have one question, Prabhu.
Yeah,
Prabhuji, as I've heard somewhere, I've read in one of the Prabhupaji's books, it said that Brahmaji, even as it said here, that it goes to the spiritual world. Correct? That means after liberation, if he's going to the spiritual world, he will not come back to earth. Correct? But it is being said that Brahmaji, after dying, though he's a Jeev Tattva, after his death, there'll be some other who will take the position of Brahmaji. Correct, Prabhu? So how come he's being liberated then?
So even today, Brahmaji sitting in the post of Brahmaji, he is already liberated. He is given a service to manage the universe.
Yes, Prabhu.
So it's a service given to him. So he's, after his 100 years is finished, then he goes back to universe, to spiritual world. Right? And it's possible that in the next cycle, the same jiva is also again becomes qualified for becoming Brahmaji again. But he's already, even today, the Brahmaji of our universe and Brahmaji of all universes, they are already pure devotees. Preeti, does that help you?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Hare. Thank you.
Chandran Prabhu, 12 to 15.
Hare Krishna. Text 12 to 15. My dear mother, someone may worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a special self-interest. But even demigods such as Lord Brahma, great sages such as Sanat Kumara, and great munis such as Marici have come back to the material world again at the time of creation. When the interaction of the three modes of material nature begins, Brahma, who is the creator of this cosmic manifestation and who is full of Vedic knowledge, and the great sages who are the authors of the spiritual path and the yoga system, come back under the influence of the time defector. They are liberated by their non-fruitive activities and they attain the first incarnation of the Purusha. But at the time of creation, they come back in exactly the same forms of positions as they had previously. Purport.
No, hold on.
The Brahma become Hare Krishna.
So what I described about those who worship Brahmaji, they may get liberated or they may not get liberated depending on how they are worshipping Brahmaji, is described in the purports. You can please read the purports later by yourself. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. So part 4 is verses 16 to 21. Title is Lord Kapila criticizes Sakam Karmis. So all these verses are pretty straightforward, that those who follow Karma Kanda or Sakam Karma or even Varnashram for sense gratification, all such Sakam Karmis have their minds attached to Dharma, Artha, Kama. They worship demigods and forefathers, and they are averse to Harikatha. All such Sakam Karmis, they do follow Varnashram properly, but it's for sense gratification. Therefore, what is the point? Okay. Preeti, 16 to 19 translations.
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 16, translation. Persons who are too addicted to this material world execute their prescribed duties very nicely and with great faith. They daily perform all such prescribed duties with attachment to the fruitive result. Text 17. Such persons impelled by the mode of passion are full of anxieties and always aspire for sense gratification due to uncontrolled senses. They worship the forefathers and are busy day and night improving the economic condition of their family, social, and national life. Text 18. Such persons are called Vargika because they are interested in the three elevating processes. They are averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can give relief to the conditioned soul. They are not interested in the Supreme Personality's pastimes, which are worth hearing because of his transcendental prowess. Text 19. Such persons are condemned by the supreme law order of the Lord because they are averse to the nectar of activities of the personality of Godhead. They are compared to stool-eating hogs. They give up hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord and indulge in hearing the abominable activities of the materialistic persons. Hare Krishna.
So because materialistic people are averse to hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord, rather they indulge in hearing of the abominable activities of materialistic persons, such as news, sports, politics, etc. Therefore, they are compared to stool-eating hogs. So followers of Sakam Karma, they do not develop taste for Krishna consciousness. They have moved their face away from the Lord. Mother Jija, 2021 translations.
Text 20. Such materialistic persons are allowed to go to the planet called Pitraloka by the southern course of the sun, but they again come back to this planet and take birth in their own families, beginning again the same fruitive activities from birth to the end of life. Text 21. When the result of their pious activities are exhausted, they fall down to higher arrangement and again come back to this planet. Just as any person raised to a high position sometimes all of a sudden falls. Hare Krishna.
So far, Lord Kapila has described Grhamedhi lifestyle as well as those who worship Brahmaji as independent of the Lord. And in verse number 11, Lord Kapila advises to perform bhakti to Supreme Lord. Lord Kapila has also described Grhastha devotees. And now, Lord Kapila again advises to just worship the Supreme Lord with devotion. Therefore, part 5, verses 22 to 26, titled is, By Bhakti, goals of other paths are already achieved. Kalyani, 22-23 translations.
Text 22. My dear mother, I therefore advise that you take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for his lotus feet are worth worshipping. Accept this with all devotion and love, and thus you can be situated in transcendental devotional service. Text 23. Engagement in Krishna consciousness and application of devotional service unto Krishna make it possible to advance in knowledge and detachment as well as in self realization. Hare Krishna.
So, by bhakti, the goals of other paths are also achieved. So, by bhakti, you can also get jnana, means knowledge, and vairagya means detachment, as well as you also get self-realization. And in verses 24-25, the symptoms of such a devotee are described. In verse number 25, purport, we'll soon read, it describes that how for a devotee, there is no question of agreeable or disagreeable. Shivangi, 24-25 translations and then 25 purport.
Hare Krishna, text 24. The exalted devotee's mind becomes equipoised in sensory activities, and he is transcendental to that which is agreeable and not agreeable. Text 25. Because of his transcendental intelligence, the pure devotee is equipoised in his vision and sees himself to be uncontaminated by matter. He does not see anything as superior or inferior, and he feels himself elevated to the transcendental platform of being equal in qualities with the Supreme Person. Purport. Perception of the disagreeable arises from attachment. A devotee has no personal attachment to anything, therefore for him there is no question of agreeable or disagreeable. For the service of the Lord, he can accept anything, even though it may be disagreeable to his personal interest. In fact, he is completely free from personal interest, and thus anything agreeable to the Lord is agreeable to him. For example, for Arjuna, at first fighting was not agreeable, but when he understood the fighting was agreeable to the Lord, he accepted the fighting as agreeable. That is the position of a pure devotee. For his personal interest, there is nothing which is agreeable or disagreeable. Everything is done for the Lord, and therefore he is free from attachment and detachment. That is the transcendental stage of neutrality. A pure devotee enjoys life in the pleasure of the Supreme Lord.
So, how for a devotee, there is no question of agreeable or disagreeable. So we should set this as our goal, that how to come to this level, that we don't have the situation of agreeable and disagreeable. And we read that the perception of disagreement arises from attachment. So when you have something agreeable or disagreeable, understand you are attached. So devotee has no personal attachment for anything. Therefore, there is no question of agreeable or disagreeable. For the service of the Lord, he can accept anything, even though it may be disagreeable to his personal interest. So everything is done for the Lord. Therefore, he is free from attachment and detachment. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. So we'll have the last verse for today. The rest of the chapter will continue in our next class because we won't be able to finish it today. So in 3.32, verse 22 and 23, we read that Lord Kapila stated that one also attains jnana and yoga by performing bhakti. Question becomes, how is this possible? And the answer is described in verse number 26, that the same Lord manifests differently. So everybody has read, whosoever wants to read verse number 26 translation.
Prabhuji, I'll read.
Mhm.
Hare Krishna. Text 26. The Supreme Personality of Godhead alone is complete transcendental knowledge, but according to the different processes of understanding, he appears differently either as an impersonal Brahman, as Paramatma, as Supreme Personality of Godhead, or as the Purushartha. Hare Krishna.
So he manifests differently. Because Bhagwan contains both Brahman and Paramatma. Therefore, by realization of Bhagwan via bhakti, includes the realization of Brahman and Paramatma also. On the other hand, by practicing jnana for Brahman or yoga for Paramatma, one does not attain the position of becoming an associate of the Lord, because this is nowhere stated in scriptures. Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? Can anybody think of an example of somebody who has attained Bhagwan realization, also was able to see Brahman effulgence and Paramatma? All of you have attended that class. Okay, Shivangi is bang to the point, correct? Shivangi, go ahead and explain.
Srila Vyasadeva did it because when he was first writing the Bhagavatam, he was able to see Maya as a shadow behind Krishna, and he was also able to see the suffering of the conditioned souls. But he was also a devotee, so he was able to have all the devotional realizations too.
Yeah, so Srila Vyasadeva also saw Brahman effulgence as well as Paramatma, although he bypassed them because he knows that Brahman effulgence and Paramatma realizations are incomplete realizations. Very good. Super excellent, Shivangi. Remembrance from the other class. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. Homework, spiritual endeavor questions. 3 questions. Question number 1. Explain the difference between pravritti and nivritti dharma. Comes from verse number 6. Number 2. Explain how, for a devotee, there is no question of agreeable or disagreeable. Comes from verse 25. Number 3 is for next class. Read Canto 3, Chapter 33. So chapter 33 on the activities of Lord Kapila is very straightforward chapter. So we will aim to complete chapter 33 up to end of Canto 3, chapter 33 at our next class on January 18th. Then on January 25th, you all will do presentation for this unit 14. So the Srimad Bhagavatam Google Excel, I have changed the permission for everybody to read only because multiple devotees made edits to the Google Excel that should not have been done. I'm assuming those edits were unintentional, resulting in deleting cells and causing me to fix the Google Excel multiple times. Therefore, you all should be able to view the Srimad Bhagavatam Google Excel document. If not, you can send me your email, or when you access, I anyway get an email that you are looking for access for that. And you all will inform me which chapter or which section you want to present, and I will update the Google Excel for all of you. And then from February 1st onwards, you all will be doing your respective bigger presentations that we have discussed. I'm hoping everybody is getting ready for your bigger presentation. It will take a lot of time for you to prepare. Everybody on the same page? Preeti, did you have a chance to go through the last recording I sent you on how to do the bigger presentation?
Prabhuji, actually, I have the access only to my mobile. I don't have any other device where I can put this. Yeah, I can. So, if you can explain.
So what I will do is I will send you the audio. The audio should play on your phone,
Yes.
and there's a visual one Excel visual, so I can send you an image of that.
Yes. Yeah.
So what has happened is I had an argument with Zoom company that Zoom has made some technical updates because of which the at least the video recordings do not play on the phones. I don't know if that same will happen on the audio for Preeti. I don't know that. But at least the video do not play on the phone. So they are aware of it, but I literally had an argument with them that why would they push this upgrade when they know that it is going to cause an issue, but they have a mind of their own, so I don't have anything to control them.
No, that will be okay, Prabhu, if you share the audio also with me. So I think I can at least hear it, and then I can prepare it for the class. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, realizations before we stop for the day? Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
అయిపోయిందా?